Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to come back to you today, and this is my recording for tomorrow's lecture. According to our course syllabus, tomorrow, inshallah, we will deal with chapter 3. This chapter talks about a very important subject nowadays in management literature, which is the cross-cultural understanding, which means that people need to understand each other in order to live peacefully in a global world. As we have discussed at the beginning of our course, globalization is a must in our world, and all people now they know each other through social media, through satellite, through the internet, more than ever. So knowing where we stand in all this situation, very important, especially for us in the Arab world. For this reason, this chapter is dedicated to how we can understand other cultures as long as we are living in an Arab society and in an Arab country. So what we will talk about today. Today I will not cover all the slides in the chapter. As you will see, I have made some editing on the chapter and added some slides to make it more understandable for you and to comprehend the ideas that will be raised in my presentation. So we will define the meaning of intercultural management, how we can manage our intercultural activities with other people from other organizations or from other nations or other societies. This is very important. Moreover, we will indicate to a very famous scholar, his name is Hoffs Today, or Hoffs Today, regarding how we can measure other people culture on certain dimensions. Hoffs Today, he made a study that was in the 80s, in the last century, and he spent 5 years conducting this study. He studied the national cultures of 53 nations all over the world, and he came out with certain dimensions upon which we can know how people, they manage their authorities, they manage their future orientation, they manage their relations together, they manage the meaning of being male, female, masculine, feminine, and so on. So this is what we will discuss in the following chapters. Moreover, cultural understanding is very important to managers. Managers specifically, they need to know how to manage diversity in their organizations so that people, they will live in harmony, they can work in teams, and they can cooperate with each other, and the manager will be the winner after all, and the organization will be successful. Moreover, we will see how communication and getting in touch with other people in a certain manner that will be significant to our cultural understanding. The role of intercultural manager in international business is very important because we are talking about doing business in other countries, not only in our main country. Okay, so being a global manager is also a matter of success to the manager as a whole, wherever he is or wherever he is conducting his business. Okay, let us start first. What do we mean by culture? I have indicated to cultural understanding, cultural management, and so on. So what is the meaning of the word culture? As I said, culture, in the meaning of what we understand it, in Arabic it is ثقافة. So this is the seen or the observed meaning of culture. ثقافة means, or culture of a society, it means that the degree of education in this society, the degree of published books, the degree of their care about music, for instance, and so on. All these will reflect the civilization of the society. Here, the meaning of culture here is different. We will talk about culture in the meaning of values, What do we mean by culture as values? Hofstede, the scholar that I have indicated at the beginning, he talked about the values of people, and he said that values, they are not observable to other people. What we see from other people is something called behaviors. So when we go to other countries, we don't see the values of people. Why? Because they are residing in the core of their societies. Usually, you can tell from their behavior the certain values that they care about. Hofstede said that values usually, they are engraved in the minds of people, or according to e-learning, we can say or give it the meaning of programming of the mind. How we program our minds or our children's minds in a way that we want the values that we carry as parents, we will give it to our children in order for them to live with it and give it on their turn to their children as well. So values is being taken from our fathers, our grandfathers, and our ancestors in a certain way, which we consider is our way of life. It is our thing that will show us how we deal with each other, how we deal with other people in a certain manner. Okay. Why culture? It means an integrated approach to beliefs, values, behaviors, and customs of certain societies. This means that we can differentiate societies based on their values, based on their customs, based on their behaviors, and so on. What makes culture? Usually, if we live in a certain society, we call it a society because we share one language, mostly one religion, with some other religion sometimes, one geographic location, and one shared history. These are very important aspects to consider the Arab world as Arab society, because we have one language, one shared religion, one geographic location, and one shared history. Moreover, the US or North America, in North America we have Canada and the US, but Canada is different from the US because the US, they share certain values which is different from the British or from the French and so on. So this is what we will call culture in the societal sense, and to know how people, they are different from each other. To know the differences between people, Hofstede, he said that, let me give you certain dimensions upon which you can see that people or societies, they are different, because we are describing here a society, not individuals. When we talk about values, we know that the values of shared customs, values, and norms in a certain society, which all the people in this society will share. So these dimensions, which Hofstede measured our culture and other societies' culture, are based on 5 main dimensions. These are power distance, uncertainty avoidance, individualism versus collectivism, masculinity versus femininity, short-term versus long-term orientation. Let us see the meaning of each term or each item of these dimensions. Okay, let us look at this figure which I added recently to make it clear for you. What do we mean by the word individualism versus collectivism? You can see, you look at the slide here. This is the word collectivism from the word collective. Individualism from the word individual. Okay, so what do we mean by collective and individual? It reflects the relationship between the individual and the group. So the group will reflect the collective and the individual will reflect the individualism. In collectivist societies, usually people, they live in groups or within certain families or within certain tribes. So they are collective in the meaning of that they are all together. Individualistic, which means that the individual usually in certain societies live alone, or he cares about himself and he does not care about to whom he belongs to. He cares about his achievements. Okay, let us go to the meaning of power distance, the second one. Usually, power distance is measured within low and high. If power distance is low, this means that the authority or the distance between, as it measures the degree of inequality between people, that is assumed to be a natural state of affairs, which means that do people are unequal in this society, which means that we have some people who are at the top and people who are at the bottom, and the distance between the two is too far. Or we have certain layers of authority, but the distance between those people at the higher position and those people at the lower position is not so high, it is low, as it is shown here. Third, uncertainty avoidance. Uncertainty avoidance also, like power distance, it is measured within weak and strong uncertainty avoidance. Weak, which means low, and strong, it means high uncertainty avoidance. We say that a society is weak on uncertainty avoidance, means that how people in a culture cope with the unpredictable and the ambiguous. Okay, strong uncertainty avoidance, this means that we are so worried about the uncertain things that will come in the future. If we see that we would protect ourselves from the uncertain in a certain manner, this means that the feeling of uncertainty is weak in our society. So we have certain societies which they have strong drive towards their uncertainty feeling, and certain societies which the uncertainty avoidance is weak in their feelings. Here, societies, they differ in facing the uncertain. In certain societies with weak uncertainty avoidance, they rely on science. Nowadays, they rely on technology. So for this reason, we would see that Western cultures, Western societies, they are more advanced in technological advancement. They have so many technology that they say they can protect themselves from what might happen in the future, or what the environment might bear from uncertain manners or uncertain things that would happen. Okay, other societies which feel that we cannot face the uncertain because the uncertain is unpredictable, and in our societies or Eastern cultures, in Arab societies usually, we always say it's the hands of Allah. This is sah, this is right. Everything is in the hand of Allah, but usually Allah said, you should be prepared. So take actions in order to protect yourselves from certain things that can happen in the future, and leave the rest for me. Okay, gender matter. Here we will measure how the society is more feminine, more feminist, and or masculine. Okay, this measure care-oriented societies versus achievement-oriented society. Femininity will reflect the care orientation, and masculinity will reflect the achievement orientation. So feminine societies, usually they are very soft, they are very tender, they are very passionate with others. Masculine will reflect that he has the drive, he is so strong, and he has something he needs to fulfill in his life. For this reason, he is persistent and he is an achiever, reflecting a masculine drive. Long-term versus short-term orientation. To some extent, the issue of truth and virtue are complementary in societies. Both are related to society's attitude toward time and tradition. Long-term versus short-term, usually the Hoffs Today added this to see the difference between Western and Eastern cultures in how we treat time. Do we want to achieve everything in a short time, or do we need to take our time in doing our achievement? So he had certain measures. Okay, let us look at the Arab world, how Hoffs Today, or the result of the study in the Arab world. The Arab world, or Hoffs Today, found out that Arab societies usually they are collectivist societies because they have a strong social ties. Why we are collectivist? Because people in the Arab societies, all over the Arab societies, they belong to their families. They consider themselves or they introduce themselves as belonging to a certain family or certain tribe and so on, which reflects their collectivism or collective orientation. We are in the Arab world masculine, which means that usually masculine is the one who is responsible for the family, as which reflects that the responsible person in the family is the male and not the female. We are high on power distance, which means that authority orientation is very important in the Arab world, and usually managers in the Arab world, they like authority and they like power. Uncertainty avoidance is so high. When we face uncertain matters, usually we reckon to religion and we start asking Allah, we pray to prevent the uncertain, exactly like the phase we are passing through now with the coronavirus. We should make our effort to stop this virus, but in addition we say that we need Allah so that He will cover this situation and He will help us to pass through this situation. Look at this figure, which will reflect the power distance result, which is high of the Arab world. Individualism, it is so small because we are collectivist. Masculinity is high. We are masculine societies because we are male-oriented societies. Uncertainty avoidance is also high in the Arab countries. So these are the results as reflected in Hoffs Today results. Enough for today, and in our next lecture, inshallah, we will talk about the subject of diversity and how we can manage understanding of other cultures in a certain manner. Thank you for today. Allah yahmakum. We'll see you inshallah on Wednesday.